I don't think.
Or I spam your room more than you spam.
And we're live.
Hey guys.
Spam me.
Woohoo.
Spam me, baby.
That was the origin story of like the "and we're live" is that there would be so much backstage banter. You know, we had to let the world know.
It's good to know. It's good that I know that we're live.
We are
Right.
live.
I'd say that's a good tradition.
Right.
Pulse to $2, man.
Let's go.
That'd be
Almost
a nice,
there.
yeah, almost there. Got a little ways to go.
Right.
I'll take it though. I'll take $2. Let's do it.
Yeah, I could live off that probably.
Not for the whole market cap, but for each one.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Agreed.
You got to be careful what you wish for. You got to be really specific, you know.
Indeed. Yeah, I've seen those. I've seen Aladdin. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
Slippage is my friend.
So, Crispy, I hear you're a man of many talents. Tell us of your talents.
I do have talents. I put a link out here to you guys in the private chat. This was just a yeah, please. It's just I was doing is I was looking for fun entertainment opportunities with Pulsechain, and there's these new AI. They're not so new, but they're relatively new AI game creation software. And what you're able to do is go talk to an AI, go build new games or repurpose games and whatnot. So I thought it would be an excellent idea to go build something called Pulsechain Bubble Shooter.
Wow, that does sound exciting.
And so it is pretty exciting, right? And so in fact I'll share my screen, but I won't play it. I won't play it, but I'll share the screen out to you if you want to see it.
Is this
Maddie.
for entertainment or gambling or what? What type of game?
There ain't no gambling here, man. This is just straight up. This is just, it's not even crypto related, man. It's just straight up go do mind numbing stuff.
Cool.
So,
passing the time.
Yeah, Beach Will saying he's played it a little bit. Yeah. So this this is just static. I run into problems. I think if I start actually trying to play it with bandwidth and whatnot, like I don't think it. Oh, there it's moving now. But this is just a
nice.
It's based on the bubble game, which some people have use it or not, where you try to get 2, 3 or more of the bubbles together, and they disappear when you shoot it. Boom, booyah, right?
Whoa.
And I changed screens, so that's why we got that going on, right? And so this is smart enough to pause. It kind of moves down the screen, and then you pick the next batch. And I used Pulsechain logos, right? Changed them out and built it in. And so just pass around, send it to your friends, get them. Maybe more people to see Pulsechain. There's some other things that are out there. I found I haven't built it yet, but I found a really great game, maybe the repurpose that I think would fit with Soimi. You know, and these Mario type games. Got a couple ideas. You know, maybe I'll take one of Somi's fun heads. You know, headshots that he has, cartoon headshots, and create a game like that. I don't know. It's just for fun. That's all.
Nice.
So just a diversion. But I will warn you. I got addicted. I don't usually play games. I mean, even though I started, you know, with games when I was a teen, right? Because when they first started coming out, I mean, I was the best at Pong, right? But anyways, I think the last real game that I got into was Resident Evil 1, which was probably 2000. So I mean, it's been 25 years since I've really
we're talking took a lot. Original PlayStation.
Yeah, before I really took any time to really, that was the last I spent, because I was an adult and had to do adult stuff, and you can't just spend 20, 30 hours playing games. At that point, I couldn't. I guess I could now, but I just haven't picked it back up. But this was bad because I lose time playing this one. Like I start playing and I'm like, I got to do better, right? And then and then go. And so I encourage other people to take a look at it. Hey, if you have an ecosystem, build your own, right? It's not hard.
Cool.
If you want to do it, you want to use the 2FUX ones, you could drop them in,
Yeah.
So whatever, 2FUX
Yeah,
tokens, go build your own, go have some fun with it. Maybe it's a way to kind of expand out what you have.
And this website that we posted here, is this the website to make the game?
Yep. This is one of these AI websites. Of course, everybody do your own due diligence. It's just a website, so I don't know much more about it than it's up it, and they're this, and along with a bunch of other sites, right? They have these AI game makers now, and you can go in there and describe the game, and if you have a really good description, you can make a really good game. And if you have a real crappy description, you can make a real crappy one. So you can go investigate it and go look around.
Cool.
So that's what I got for you on the game making. This has been fun, though. I think I got. I think if I look at the stats,
What's the top score?
I think. I was working with the AI to see if we could do a leaderboard. Not sure I have the chops yet to figure that out. And I really don't have the time to go figure it out. So if somebody else can help me figure it out, that'd be good. But so far, 45 players. We've had 45 players. And, it's just a little bubble shooter.
Cool.
To just go play and click away. So that's all I got on this, but it's been fun to do it. I know some other people told me they got into it. They're like, oh, this is kind of addictive. Click.
Sometimes, I don't know, Maddie could probably comment better with the psychology background, but sometimes like video games are the break my brain needs to be able to, rejoin the world without hurting people.
Yeah, decompress a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I say I don't play video games, but man, I use I don't even know what the hell it's called. Like I play these block games where I'm trying to put the right blocks in the right shapes and the thing. And so that's I use that kind of an outlet as well, kind of like clear my brain.
I can, if I'm not careful, I can go deep. Like I can put in a solid 80-hour video game week, So I've been avoiding buying any games until the bear market. Baldur's Gate 3 has been on my wish list for a year now. But
mostly I've been playing the Pulsechain game, right? Like other people are saying.
Lots of games to play there,
yeah. Apparently.
Number go down technology.
Some days. No, last couple days it hasn't looked so bad. As a matter of comparison, anyway. Oh, we're still here. Good. I thought we paused for a sec. Everybody's quiet.
Just a moment of silence for the glorious price rise we've had.
Indeed. I was just verifying my own information, but it's still not as bad as it's been anyway. We do have, in theory, the court case final dismissal, no takes backsies coming up on the 21st, 22nd, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, the longer it takes to hear more about that, the more likely it is that the whole thing go away. I don't want to speak for Nuclear Herbs at all, but I mean, he probably has some stuff out on his Twitter. But my take back on that was from him is, they could do another thing and they could ask for another 30 days, but why would they if they didn't?
I think one thing I heard Nuclear Herbs say is that they will use all of the time, whether they're preparing something or not.
Okay, it's like standard procedure sort of thing.
Well, it's like, they've already got us, where they want us, which is sitting there waiting for a middleman decision or a middle woman or whatever you want to call it, so DeFi can continue. So, that's their only flex, whether they have something or not. That's how they get to win the mini game, but lose the war.
I had Triplet Dad had an interesting thought the other day when I was streaming with him, that what if they're like they asked for the additional 30 days to give them time to decide not to proceed with the case, so they could you know, just save a little bit of face, right?
Nuclear, yeah, I think Nuclear Herbs also like
He
addressed
did, eh?
that possibility, which now you've done a good job of recapping.
Excellent.
Because I didn't point that out. We got Tam Tam in the chat. What's
Hey,
up?
Tim.
What's up?
Where is everyone? Yeah, well, I've upset people based on who I invite to these things. Even though these guys are loved, I guess all-time low for Matty Allen Live.
I think maybe you just posted the link a little later than usual.
That could be it too.
It could just be a math thing. Give it 15 minutes.
Right.
Well, people, yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about that situation, because, but I just hope for the best for you and Kareem long term. You figure things out. That's all. I don't need to know and get into all the details of everything.
I'm not.
Well,
the
one thing that. Oh, what's that?
Oh, carry on.
I think like the one thing that speaks volumes, I guess, as Corey Costa would say, is like it doesn't matter whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing or the popular thing or the unpopular thing. Like, people are going to hate you based on price or just based on the fact that they hate. People love to hate. And so, for example, raising money to get Kareem out of wrongful imprisonment got tons of hate. Like, stopping a class action lawsuit in South Carolina against Hex, tons of hate. Like, going live consistently for 200 and what are we at? 240 weeks, something like that, 230 something. Like, lots of hate. And so, yeah, like, especially when prices are down, things get pretty ugly. To be the person who keeps showing up and making the tough decisions. I thought that I made my intentions clear, that like, the whole PDI thing was, that was an attempt to take some leadership in a decentralized space where not everybody's going to agree or disagree, but we're going to be intellectually honest, at least, about everything. So that's kind of where I've always drawn the line for this show, is I invite people to disagree with me. But if I think that somebody's being dishonest and they don't, and they are knowingly and repeatedly lying, then that's not something I can be held liable. Like, that's a legal liability for me. And so while I encourage people to go do whatever shows they want to do, that's always been what I've had to do in order to show up every week, is to create some sort of boundary when it comes to legal liabilities for myself.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so what else has been going on in crypto these days?
We have the new Block Explorer. I've been playing with that. Midgard.wtf.
Still indexing, right?
Still in development in some respects. It does work though. Like, I've been able to pull up, transactions and even interact with contracts and stuff like that via the Block Explorer. So I wouldn't say it's perfect yet, but it's certainly better than Pulse Scan, which consistently gives me just errors and doesn't do anything at all. So I'd call it a win so far. I'm very optimistic.
It doesn't just consistently give you errors.
Can you repeat it one more time? Like, what does it do better than what we already have? Because like, first thing I did is I typed in a token name, nothing. I was just like, okay, well, that's not a block explorer yet. It wants to be. Like,
fair enough. Yeah, I haven't tested those kind of things. Like I'm like doing things like interacting with contracts, like and stuff like that, and it works better than
to be able to like write,
read, write, yeah, like
okay.
execute transactions. So yeah, people looking to do those sorts of things. Though I think it's that part is still again not perfect yet, but it's like, you know, it's better than what we have. But yeah, we'd want it to do everything, like type in a token name, type in all the stuff.
What's not perfect about reading and writing to contracts that you've noticed so far?
It gave some erroneous error messages that weren't real. Like, so like it told me like something weird, just some sort of default error message, but the transactions I put in did go through. So it was like, oh, okay, it's just like a UI issue and how it's displaying the results.
Right.
But I was able to see the contract, see the read and write of the contract, and interact with it, and so it was like, okay, it did something. Also, supposedly they're setting it up to work with Wallet Connect V2 to connect to more wallets. Right now, it's just supposed to work with MetaMask, though I was able to get it to work with Ravi via the emulator thing, probably. But so it's still coming, but you can see that it's like it's going to be better, right? It looks slicker, it's faster. But yeah, just a couple extra bells and whistles, and I think it'll be cool.
Well, just those things that you described are very helpful to evaluate it, because I haven't. Maybe I just haven't been plugged in enough to like hear anybody else kind of review in that detail that you just did. So
they have an active team too, right? Like they're, you know, like I'm in a Telegram room. I think it's some sort of testing Telegram room, and they're there and they answer you, right? So it's like that's useful.
Cool. Crispy?
I'm also in that room, and I'm excited about the future of it. You know, I'm excited to see what might happen. You know, I use about 3 or 4 different explorers. I guess a lot of people don't pay attention.
Yeah, me too.
That there's the old scan, there's the hex, the app hex, there's the new scan. Anyway, it's the one you can download. So all these different scanners you can use, 9mm. So there are different ones that are out there. Yeah, and I guess I'm not a big enough software engineer type to understand everything that goes on with that, why things are so delayed and why they take the time that they do. But yeah, it's not been this. My experiences with most of them have not been great, right? But so I'm hoping for a new one. Like I run my own spreadsheet, right? So I throw my address in, I go get all the data myself with the API, because it's more conclusive for me to go get that information that way. And at least I know it's complete, you know?
Right. Yes. So, I mean, just reasoning through and intuiting the issue of indexing, I think that there's a couple of issues that you run into, which is one, you have to trust the source that you're getting the data from. So that's like a node bandwidth type of thing, like a full node type of thing that you need to have, be able to be pulling that data in a way that, it's in a way that isn't going to be DDoS attacking anything. If you have bad actors involved, it can make it hard for good actors to do things. And then another issue is the fact that addresses, are just there are these huge strings of numbers, and basically to index, you kind of have to you have to go through every address you've ever found for every contract you've ever found. Sometimes if it hasn't been, well, I guess that's part of the indexing process, is that you're basically trimming the data to make it so that you don't have to see, all of the, that you don't have to see the data that has fallen out of the blockchain. Like, oh, somebody used this address a long time ago, but we already know where all the money went, and that checks out, and there's no double spends, so we can prune that off of the current data set. And so, yeah, I've heard Future Us explain for hours to me about how indexing works, in regular computing, how indexing works in crypto. And every time I hear him say it, then I think I understand it a little bit better. But I think those are some of the issues.
And they have even more complicated indexing for NFTs. So the guys who are running up like NFT websites have to run crazy NFT nodes. Takes like months.
Right.
It never
right. Because there's because another thing that blockchains do, other than tell you balances of stuff, is that they can give you like event flags, and they can include other data. And so a lot of times having a partial node versus a full node is the difference between like how much you prune and then how much metadata you include. So when the Hex developers, when they had to write the code, to say like what a start stake is and what an end stake is and what those fields, what type of data that they would have, like, is it a floating point number? Is it integer math in order to figure out, when something happened or how much of something happened with something else? They had to make decisions, just like we did when we created Time Pays Me, to even be able to interact with a vault address that you control, to be able to tell the future blockchain nodes where to look for the answers to stuff. Because if there's not a shortcut of where to look, then that's going to be harder for the full node to store, more expensive. The data set's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And so there's these weird trade-offs. And then there might even be some minor differences between Pulsechain and Ethereum when it comes to like how they integrate node, full node kind of like sets. So
the excitement never ends.
Right. So if you wanted to deep dive into that, you would start like, asking Grok about Vitalik's, history of essay writing when it comes to these trade-offs between event logs and full node data sets, that sort of thing. Kind of what the hard problems that have been run into by blockchain are, and how they've had to navigate that over time.
Cool. I think like it's easy for us to get excited about things like block explorers, but I really feel, and I've told people this before, that like high quality block explorers do not bring green candles. I think it's an unrelated issue.
Yeah, I see your point on that, but I do think it's secondary, but it's a real issue, right? Because it's most people are not capable of doing what you and I and Maddie do. Not capable of it. They don't have enough knowledge. It's going to take them 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And so when you go to a block explorer, and this is the most common thing that I see, the transaction said it went through, but I don't see it, right? Because everything's lagging, right? That's the most common thing. And yeah, I know we can make all the excuses we want about how they should understand blockchain, But, I go to ETH. That's not the problem I get. I mean, I get a couple seconds, right? And that's the experience. I go to a lot of other chains. That's not the problem I get. I get the information right away. And so it's like, it's terrible in that way, And so I think that undermines, and there's a positive side to this, but I think it undermines the belief, right? It undermines the, our blockchain and how it's presented to other people. Now, the upside to that is it's also a barrier to entry and a litmus test, right? And so if that scares you off, then maybe we don't want you in, right? But we want everybody in. Abundance mentality, right? But nevertheless, right?
And it's not just whether people are in or not, but it's what type of experience and not expectations, but expectations do they have in terms of, this is a technology that is continuing to improve in different ways or degrade in some ways. Like for example, it was noticed recently that that MetaMask has like disabled support for P-copy tokens to be easily added and included in Pulsechain how they were before. And it very well may be that like that gets fixed. It was kind of something they didn't intend to do. They wanted to make their warning a little bit more user friendly, and so they just said, oh well, if it's a repeat of something on Ethereum, the same contract code, then that could be a scam token, or that could be this or that. So we're just gonna not show it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And,
you can't add the token if it already exists on Ethereum, which makes it useless for dealing with them. And
so you can you can still swap on PulseX and Pateus for tokens that are supported. But yeah, it's weird when software gets worse. And it's not just crypto. Like Apple has been found guilty severely, like with the Photos app. Many tech people agree that like they've just blundered what used to be software always gets better to wow, that's a huge setback. And so that's kind of what Pulsechain is experiencing now with MetaMask. And maybe one reason why Richard Hart this week turned on his comments and asked for feedback about creating a wallet.
Yeah. So does that mean he already has created a wallet? Or does it mean that he's thinking about creating a wallet or advertising to other wallets? Like what's he up to?
Everybody knows that like RH collects useful things, and that includes ideas. And that's one of the ideas he collected a long time ago was, wallet. It's on the list of nice things to have, just like a nation state is also on the list, and on and off exchange ramp, that he would own or that would at least be cool with us. Those are all things, that are on the list. And what was I going to say? Okay, so we also know that from all the feedback that he solicited when creating Hex and when creating Pulsechain, that just because he's starting to talk about something or ask for feedback, it doesn't mean that it's already done yet. And we also know the third thing is that he has this policy of just-in-time deployment, in the sense that he's said before, specifically about the issue of a wallet. Well, if wallets were ever to get worse, than they are now, and I think he even said that about Ethereum before he forked Ethereum. He's like, well, if Ethereum ever, gets so unusable with high fees, and so yeah, I think that there's some takeaways there.
And we just had a wallet issue with Rabby removing support for Pulsechain. So maybe the time for that idea has come.
Right.
I wonder if he does it. I wonder how he'll do it. Like, is this going to be a free wallet? Is it going to be a tokenized wallet? Is it going to be, will there be a sacrifice? Popular topic.
Great questions.
Well, of course, if somebody's going to design a wallet and put it out, they can include whatever they like, right? So, but just brainstorming, I would likely see it take fees and contribute to buy and burn through the fees. I would likely see that, and also a portion of that likely cover the devs, because it's one of these things you just can't let it roll by itself, right? The devs are going to have to be on it and support it long term. I mean, I guess in theory, it's a one and done, but too much changes on the front end stuff, right? That over time there might be some need to do more development, and so yeah. Anyways, I would expect something of that nature. I did see a conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy theory junk that somebody was talking about Rabby being forked, and perhaps that's why. And that'd be kind of nice actually if that happened, if that was the case, because I did love Rabby. I'm really sorry that they dropped this. It took me a long time to warm up to him, but then once I started using him, it was like all the time, right? So maybe something of that nature. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what they come out with. But I think it's likely it's likely a 90% done thing.
I mean, conspiracy theories these days come true so often. I think what you're maybe referring to, if it's the same comment that I heard, was let me see. I wouldn't give it the credibility of a conspiracy theory, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. I think it was a erroneous, like, wishful thinking error. Although, I mean, there's nothing wrong with making wild predictions or kind of like putting things together. But yeah, I think in that case, it was somebody who like didn't want to admit that it was maybe the PDI like takeover of the narrative of, what's Pulsechain all about, that led to Rabby delisting Pulsechain. It seems like much more coherent of a theory than all of us never found out about Richard doing it, and then Richard like turns on his comments and then asks for ideas about whether to do it from scratch or not. Like Richard, I don't know of many examples, if any, where he's done something that was misleading to where he already had built something and now he's like pretending to ask for suggestions. Like I've always seen Richard have so much coherence between, what he's saying and what the truth is. That I don't think, even if there was some slight advantage, I don't think he would like tell a white lie or, like mislead people in that way that's described by that concept of he was forking Rabby and somehow Rabby found out about it, but nobody else did. And that's why they ghosted us.
Yeah, guys, anybody listening, this is from our perspective, this is all just made up stuff. It's just fun to theorize, right? I mean, it also could be that the lizard people, send a message down to, tell Robbie to shut off, right? Who knows? I don't know. I guess they wouldn't send a message down because they're already among us. I mean, even Fast Abdul might be a lizard guy. I don't know.
That's why I'm wearing the shape. Yeah.
I shape shift from time to time, but I identify as a human.
I've heard more than one person say that MFR is not real. That Maddie, he's not real. That motherfucker. He's not real.
Right.
Right before I stormed off the plane. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, anyways, I'm looking forward to that. There's a couple of different things. You've talked about stuff on the shelf that could be coming out. Your idea, your little hit list of stuff. But I mean, single-sided staking possibilities, V3 possibilities. I applaud both 9mm and 9-inch, for obviously for the work that they do, as well as 2Fucks and the work that you guys do at 2P Hucks, and P Hucks and all that. But one of the things that we are missing is the V3, right?
For Pulsex, yeah.
For Pulsex, and that would be a game changer in a lot of ways for that to come out. But then there's also a lot of other people doing some other stuff. So, I mean, there are other people. There's at least 2 projects come to mind that are implementing tools which, if they are successful, will greatly enhance people's access to bots and that type of stuff. Within the within the ecosystem, which would be pretty crazy, right? To see that.
Which projects are you talking about? If you're at liberty to tell.
Yeah, I just want to tread carefully with it, but I mean, we've talked about them here before. Tetra's coming, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's getting close, anyways. I mean, I know they ran into some snags. For anybody who doesn't know what Tetra is, and I'm not vouching for it, everybody's got to do their own research because I'm waiting like everybody else to see what it looks like. But you know how a lot of us may not have technical chops, right? But you've probably used some software, click and drag type software in the past. And so just envision something where you could say, oh, show me the hex contract, and you drag it on the screen. And then it comes up with all the different functions you can do with a hex contract. And, then you're able to say, okay, well, here's my wallet, and you drag it on the screen. And then you tell it, hey, you know what? I want you to go to Pulsex and buy hex every day. And at 12 high noon, because it's a some sort of a showdown. It's
right.
Cowboy.
Right.
Anyway, so at 12 noon and buy 1 million pulse worth. And so the idea is that you'd be able to put these contract addresses in, click and drag. The functions would be there. Then you could add your own paths, your own tools to it, and then schedule, which is like a big deal, right? It's a big deal to have that kind of ability. The other things that are rolling out are the Validator X guys, which we've talked about in the past, I believe, which is one of the liquid staking protocols. They have additional tools that they're adding that resemble more like market making bots,
Right.
which typically is a heavy lift, like for an individual person to get a hold of, right? You gotta have software, you gotta have space, you gotta have hosting, you have chops, you gotta have a dev, you could buy it out of the box, but you need some of that infrastructure, and you have to trigger it all offline. So
people
that's
charge a lot of money for stuff like that usually too. Right?
Yeah.
Like market making services, they're charging like huge fees.
Yeah, and they're typically only available for TradFi and for centralized exchanges. And so, and even though the technology exists to be able to do with DEXs, this is the first implementation that I can find where it'll be directed at DEXs, and it'll be specifically on Pulsechain. And so it's a simple, some people just say, well, just do it manually. You can do it manually. Market making, sell high, buy low, sell high, right? That's what we're talking about. But the difference with that is you got to really watch. You got to watch the charts, right? Because otherwise you're gonna miss the 2 a.m. changeover, right? When the market comes and does whatever it does, and you're sleeping. So.
Cool. Yeah, this is all great information to allow people to do their own research, because if they don't hear about the name of something, the name of a protocol, or have any idea of what it does, then they can look into it more. So I think it's great that we're able to, share that expertise. Give people the sampler platter of Pulsechain.
Hey, quick note, guys. My wife just handed me her cell phone, and there was a message that said, "This is Coinbase. Somebody's tried to access your account. Reply stop if it was not you, and a representative will contact you to resolve the situation."
No reply.
What do you think? Yeah.
No reply. It's fake.
Yeah,
so guys, when I get that kind of stuff, man, I don't know. If somebody figured out I drove down the highway somewhere, and I get a text like every 3 days telling me I'm losing my license. Because I didn't pay the tolls, and I got this, easy pass stuff up here in the Northeast. I know my account, right? But okay, let's just say for some reason it's real, right? I don't click on that stupid thing, and I don't send a text message to some number I don't know, because I don't want to start the farming engagement. I go to the Easy Pass and go find out what the story is. And of course, it's not real. I mean, I have, it's automated funding, so it's already taken care of. So yeah, the crypto stuff is the same way, the Coinbase stuff. And some of these guys are getting your head. And the more upset you get, the harder you should check yourself when you get a message like that.
The funny thing is, I don't even have a Coinbase account, and I never have. So, I'm 100% sure it's a scam, unless my wife is hiding crypto. She has a Coinbase account. Seems unlikely.
Your wife might have an account. She's getting your phone, right? So, get out of crypto free.
Right.
But yeah, more scammers going to be coming with stuff like that, and they're going to start to be better than the scammers we have right now. Right? They're going to start to be more sophisticated. I've heard of some where they are sophisticated, like English first language sounding, multiple people involved, so they can, transfer you to their boss to resolve your issue. And, this is their job, is to steal your money. Right. So, they're going to do it as best they can. And when we start to talk about millions of dollars instead of, thousands of dollars, then you're going to get a higher quality scammer that's going to be making the calls. Be cautious.
Right. A luxury scammer.
Yeah, the grandson scam is pretty hard, pretty well used up here now, where they'll call, and they either, for whatever reason, they either have a voice that sounds like a relative or not, and they'll call about needing bail money. But here's a key. If bail money is needs to be paid in Walmart, you know,
And Walmart gift cards.
Yeah. No, you know, no.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I've seen is my mother-in-law came to me and asked me if I knew about the new Canadian digital currency that's being backed by the Bank of Canada. And she read a news article on it from the CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's the government news site, and so on and so forth. And I was like, that sounds not real. And the reason I had for thinking it wasn't real, because I would have known about it. Like, I'm touching enough crypto things all day long. I would have known. And so I looked it up, and it was she clicked off a Facebook ad that took her to a fake news site that told her about this zero risk crypto investment opportunity. So they're starting to target people via traditional mechanisms. So like something on Twitter, something on Facebook that says like, you know, no risk crypto opportunity. Like, yeah, it's a scam.
Got to stay safe out there.
Yeah.
Never share your private keys and look for spelling mistakes in the fake emails you get.
Well, since I'm 99.99% down, I guess I'm not a target anymore. So.
And
I think, I don't know. I think we're looking at a situation where Hex could move up, Pulse and Pulsechain, all the good stuff could move up in its own little bubble, even if the rest of the market doesn't. Like, we have Richard being active, we have a court case, I'd like to think, being dismissed, and we have giant sack bags that have been seen moving through mixers lately. I don't know why, but
privacy.
Yeah,
privacy.
Richard's talked about privacy a lot lately. It seems like foreshadowing to me of something. So possibly privacy on Pulsechain.
Well, it might be involved with that wallet. I mean, that's one of the big thoughts there as well.
I think to deploy SAC funds privacy, if you wanted to, or if the OA decided to deploy SAC funds, having like privacy options to not have everybody track every single movement, so that the local sharks can't mirror the trades and dump as easily, I think would be good for long-term price performance.
Yeah. You also had Vitalik talking a lot about privacy recently, and these two guys that both have created their own chains, Richard and Vitalik, they're making it a point that privacy should be normal in the future. And so that's really exciting to see. And so I think, that's part of what you do to normalize it, is you talk about it and then you practice what you preach. And so far I heard that 4,200 ETH worth $7 million found its way from the Sack Daddy address to to these mixers that were just made basically legal again. They just took the sanctions off of Tornado Cash and let the developers out of jail. And so that's all pretty good progress. Now, I did want to go down the rabbit hole, of why was it 4,200 ETH? That's a lot more than leet ETH, which is the amount that we saw move in whenever the flush address was happening in Hex back in the early days, which leet is what, 1,337 ETH. But so you got some inflation there, and how many ETH I guess you have to send at a time. And I wish, but so 42. The only thing I could find is that's the answer to the Hitchhiker's Galaxy Guide to the Universe or whatever.
Right.
It's the answer to life. And then I start looking at all right, did this guy Richard Hart, did he ever mention 42 anywhere? And I pull it up and it's 100 tweets. It's I bought my first new car when I was 42 years old. Did you guys know that?
42
Richard had never.
42 is a meaning of life, you know.
Richard had been a multimillionaire for, I think, 20 years before he bought his own first new car.
Well, that makes sense, actually, right? I mean, why buy a car if you don't want one or need it? Now, you know, of course, he bought other things that he likes, right? So he should get what he wants. You know, anybody should do that. But yeah, don't buy something that goes down in value.
Yeah, cars are almost never a good investment for long-term purposes. Very few exceptions.
It shows such delayed gratification. If somebody, like, I still can't wrap my head around it, and I've been trying for 4 or 5 years to understand how somebody could buy Bitcoin at $1 or $20 or whatever, and hold it all the way to $20,000 and be calling the tops and bottoms and just like not buy themselves a new car. That it just seems like such restraint and such like a foreshadowing of what Hex became, like what the invention of Hex was in many ways like something that Richard had already been practicing in his life for decades. Like that's why I think the 42, car is it's a good thing to reflect on. It's like, this is a founder who does not dump on your head like XRP and like Ethereum. Like this is like, it's starting to show you really a difference between what Richard Heart Crypto stands for versus everything else.
Well, it's not 42, but it looks like it. 92% APR on Hex. Kind of, you talk about Hex. So I have, I've talked about it a couple times here. Maybe someday we can have like the actuator guys on there. I don't know if you've ever seen my Super Bond thing where I was talking about the Hex actuator protocol, Maddie. And again, another one of these things for people to go look at. But that's a place that people can be doing.
Well, they did a couple talks at the Hex conference as a sponsor this past year, and I was really pleased with how they did with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so I've done a couple videos. If one of you guys want to go take a look at it, anybody watching, you want to go take a look at it, I recommend you go look at my video. Go look at their website. Website's really well done. Lots of information. Don't be scared off by the complexity. The simple part of it is, simple part of it is, that it acts kind of like a bond. You can actually go get, go get involved with Hex, limited impermanent loss, and there's yield to be had over there farming and providing LP. It's pretty cool.
Right on.
Those guys are smart. They do a good job.
Well, we're coming up here on my cutoff time for tonight for the show of half past the hour, but I think we covered a lot, and we certainly probably mentioned more protocols than ever of things that people can look into with all their extra time tonight, because we're not going for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Are there any other final thoughts you guys have in the last couple minutes of the show?
I've never been more bullish than I am right now.
Really?
Yeah, particularly for Hex. Super Bowl.
Like relative to where the price is, or just like on what metric?
Yeah, the setup's perfect for price appreciation phase. We've got stakes locked down. We got people not believing, and that's all, believe it or not, positive. And prices obviously depressed a little bit. Though prices come up over the last couple of days pretty good. Liquidity's thin as hell, and man, is EHEX cooking. It's cooking. I mean, the amount of trading that's going on. I mean, it's just spinning the top, dude. I mean, it's like I'll tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, for instance, EHEX, PHEX, right? It's pair on V2, running twice the speed of Pulse. All right. Are you
talking about payouts for liquidity providing, or?
Yeah, the liquidity providers there. I mean, just means there's a lot of trading going through, on these
compared to compared to Pulse, yield from validating or yield from providing liquidity?
Well, yes, I guess I should explain. So I call it the speed of Pulse, but so shout out to Johnny Sachs for helping me, work my way through this. Johnny Sachs is the guy on the whole communist thing. Anyways, we did analysis. We went through and took a look at, over a period of months, Pulse volume to liquidity ratios, right? Specifically, it pairs to value to kind of determine the baseline. Like, how do you know that that your LP is doing a good job? Well, you compare it to the speed of Pulse. What's the speed of Pulse? And that's what we went and did. Went to value, and it's a guess. It's a guess. The speed of Pulse is about 11%, meaning on average 11%. What does that mean? You have $1 million in value. That means 110,000 in volume per day, right? So 11%, $11 on 100, etc. Right? So you kind of like so this is volume to liquidity ratio.
Ratio,
right?
Yeah. So
my guess, not a hard number, somewhere in that range, right? And so then we start looking at things like EHEX. EHEX to Pulse is running 55 today, 51 today. PHEX to Pulse. I'll pull that one up. I'm not showing it on the screen to you guys. You have to take my word for it that I did the calculation. You go do it yourself. Is run about half that speed at 27. Anyways, well, both of them exceed, and it kind of indicates, with the speed of Pulse, and it indicates that there's a lot of demand going through that system. Now, what is the demand coming from? I can't tell you that exactly, because it could be people, it could be bots, it could be other pairs, but it is an indicator of just how fast the flywheel is running. But here's the thing: is that if that demand keeps up and the supply of the hexes keep going down, which they appear to be going down, right? I mean, somebody can come in and change it tomorrow by adding $1 billion or something, but if this situation continues, you eventually get to a break point, right? Where there just is none on the market for sale, or very little. And all of a sudden, this constant volume is just driving volatility. And it could be to the upside, it could be to the downside, for sure. Like we could see another 50% drop. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me, and you could see it go up 100%. So, anyways,
cool.
It's all that all puts together super bullish potential from it.
And that's I like how you explain that metric as well, and that's great to hear. Always learning from both you guys. Appreciate it. And Fast Abdul, your final thought?
I have my bribery protocol unveiling coming up pretty soon. The bribes on the Pulse chain. We're putting the final touches on that. It's actually been done for quite a while, but I was busy talking about other things. So
congrats.
It's gonna
been a long time coming.
Yeah. So more on that another day, but
awesome.
Bribes on the Pulse chain for the Fux and 2Fux ecosystems. And if other ecosystems that are DAOs want to join in, that could be an option in the future. So just for example, if PulseX became a DAO, or Inc. or PulseX tokens became DAO tokens, there could be bribes. I think it'll be a thing.
Interesting. Yeah. Because that has, what's the name of that protocol? The YAMS governance protocol is built into some of those RH things.
Yeah, anything you can delegate your vote can be works in a system where there can be a bribe for the votes. So, and like the votes for Inc. or PulseX, according to the code, could be delegated to another wallet. So that's just how those things work on big chains, and that's what incentivizes people to actually vote in those DAO ecosystems. Is also often some sort of a bribe, right? There's entire ecosystem set up around that, and they're worth quite a bit of money, right, on Ethereum anyway. So we may see the same on Pulsechain.
Very cool. And so people can just follow you to stay up to date on all that?
You bet. You can follow me at Fast Abdul on Twitter, as seen on the screen here, or check out my websites for various protocols I worked on, 2phux.io or Ink Printer. That's incprinter.com.
Printer of ink.
That's right. As I'm looking ahead here in my calendar, I see that like at 4:20 next week on Sunday, the courts are closed. Monday is the deadline, probably at the end of the day, for the SEC to tell us whether they're proceeding or not with their corrupt claims against Hex and Pulsechain, or whether they will not submit the volumes of things that they don't have in order to continue this case, this SEC case. So I would expect, despite widespread consensus, that we're going to find out on the 21st. I would suspect, because the deadline is at the end of the day on the 21st, that it won't be until maybe the afternoon on the 22nd that we actually find out that the court updates their paperwork system so it's viewable to the public. Now, if maybe if Richard's legal team has some statement to make or something, maybe if they're sitting at the clerk's office at the federal courthouse and witnessing that nobody from the SEC dropped anything off, maybe we do find out at 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday the 21st. But I expect that that our regular show next week on Tuesday will have some juicy stuff to talk about from that. So with that being said, hard stop here. Hit the like and share button, and until next time, stay wisely, my friends, and peace out.
See ya. See ya, Chris.
Take care.